In my last two bike reviews, I actually switched up the cameras from the GoPro Hero 11 to the Osmo Action 3. Did you guys know this? Probably not. On the channel, I'm a bit of an action camera power user, if you will. I love integrating the footage on ride trips and reviews. During the last month and a half, I've switched action cameras, and in this video, I'm going to discuss the switch and whether or not the Osmo Action 3 is the right camera for you. Full disclosure, DJI did send the Osmo Action 3 for comparison. I declined any other further compensation. They don't know what I'm going to say, and the thoughts and opinions are my own. I'm going to talk about these cameras in terms of someone that uses these for a living, day in, day out, what's important to me, and what might be the deciding factors between the two cameras. First off, we got to talk battery life. I mean, there's just a pretty significant difference between the batteries and battery life. Whenever I shoot with the GoPro, I always bring a spare battery, maybe two. Absolute no-brainer. They recently released the Enduro battery, which replaces the stock crappy battery on the GoPro Hero 10, 11. And while it's improved the battery life on the GoPro from abysmal to usable, still not great. On the other hand, this is the Osmo Action 3 battery. It comes stock with the camera. It's not like a further upgrade or anything, and it has excellent battery life. I feel totally comfortable going out on a day of shooting with just one battery rather than bringing like two or three when I use a GoPro. In terms of battery life, it's a no-brainer. Osmo Action 3 definitely wins. A next feature that is important to me as someone that does this for a living is usability and glitchiness. I like to joke that there are two types of people: those who have had a GoPro lockup on them where you have to pull the battery out to restart it, and then liars. In all seriousness, since the GoPro went into this waterproof membrane body design, it's been a little bit rough. The updated 10 and 11, however, have been so much better than the previous versions. In the years since I've had the GoPro 11, it's probably only frozen or mysteriously failed to start like less than half a dozen times, which is a record for GoPros. The Osmo Action, on the other hand, I haven't had it as long, about a month and a half, so I can't speak to its long-term stability, but in this time, zero glitches, and I'm pretty optimistic. In terms of responsiveness, turning the cameras on and off and flipping through the menus, I feel like the Osmo is a bit snappier. In terms of the physical buttons, the GoPro physical buttons do depress a little bit deeper, and they're a little bit louder overall. That seems like a total minor point, but you know, when I have the cameras on the chesty, I just want to know that I'm actually pressing it, and I actually think it's a little bit easier to tell when it's depressed on the GoPro. There is one nice feature that the Osmo Action 3 incorporates with their physical button. There's this side button here for on and off. You can actually use this as a custom function button. So I like to program two custom functions, one for my POV shots and one for my piece to camera shots, and it's really nice to be able to cycle through it using the side button or using the touchscreen on the front. Osmo Action 3, the front-facing cam, is a touchscreen. On the GoPro Hero 11, it's not a touchscreen. Of course, what good is a camera if you can't mount it places? And this is another big differentiating factor. It is the mounting system of each camera. The bottom of the Osmo Action 3 is pretty clean. It does have these little tabs, and it clicks onto mounts using a magnetic or partially a magnetic mount, and this is pretty cool. If this were a GoPro, you'd have to undo this screw and pop it off and all that stuff, but with this, you just depress the little tabs, and it really makes it easy to mount it on things and remove it. So for example, I will usually wear this around my neck for riding footage, and if I want to do a quick piece to camera, I can just take it off with one hand like that, say some words, and then snap it back on and capture more riding footage. With the GoPro and the chesty, you can do something similar with these mounts, but if you're a long-term GoPro user, you know it's not a matter of if, but when these feet will break. You can see here the fingers have snapped. I've had multiple of these feet break on me. I always bring spares when I'm using a GoPro and the chesty. The magnetic mount totally gets rid of that problem because you're not fiddling with any foot mount that you have to slide on and off. just the built-in magnetic mount. There is one thing I wish the Osmo Action 3 would add, and you'll see this is the GoPro Hero 11. It's got the mounting fingers that are built into the body. You can actually replace them with these ones that have a 1/4-20 screw. This makes it really convenient for the GoPro to quickly mount it to some kind of grip with a 1/4-20. Osmo Action, while it has the snappy magnetic mount, does not have the 1/4-20, and I feel like there's enough room to add it, and that'd be an awesome and simple upgrade. Let's talk about stabilization. This is the rig I tend to use. It is this neck mount by Telson, and what I like about it is that it's less bulky and dorky, I think, than the chesty mount, a little bit quicker to put on and off, and combining this mount with the stabilization of either system just works great. To me, they're par. There's no kind of distinct advantage. With the Osmo, I found myself using the rock steady mode. This is actually their lowest form of stabilization, but it's pretty dang good. And I use the plain rock steady because that gives the widest field of view so you can get the handlebars in there, which looks rad for bike footage. Okay, let's talk audio. You don't typically think of an action camera as requiring good audio, but for me, it's an absolute must. When we do our trip and ride videos, I like to use action cameras as my piece to camera, so my A-cam. You can certainly add external mics to both. With the GoPro, you need to get the media mod and it gets bulkier, more expensive, kind of a pain in the butt. With the Osmo, you can plug in USB-C microphone straight into the camera. But for me, what I was really interested in was just the native mics. How do they work without any modification? Here's an audio test of using both, doing kind of a rolling vlog test like how I would use it on the bike, with and without these foam things. We'll talk about these foam things. Okay, we're rolling. So this is probably around 10 miles an hour, holding both in my hand at the same time. Both of them have their respective wind slares. How much do they reject the wind noise? Okay, we're rolling. So this is probably around 10 miles an hour, holding both in my hand at the same time. Both of them have their respective wind slares. How much do they reject the wind noise? Okay, holding both of them in one hand. This is what it sounds like without the wind slayers. In my experience, it just picks up too much wind noise and sounds like a garbled hot mess. Which one will perform better? I suspect both of them will perform better with the wind slayer on, but without anything, which one works best? Okay, holding both of them in one hand. This is what it sounds like without the wind slayers. In my experience, it just picks up too much wind noise and sounds like a garbled hot mess. Which one will perform better? I suspect both of them will perform better with the wind slayer on, but without anything, which one works best? So to my ears, both sound pretty good. The GoPro Hero 11 is a little bit louder and bassier to my ears. The Osmo Action 3 wasn't as loud. This isn't a huge problem. You can bump up the gain. And I think it's a little bit more accurate to my voice. It doesn't add like some weird artificial bass to it. Both picked up some level of wind noise without these wind slayer things, which I think are absolutely necessary. I feel like the Osmo Action 3 actually fared a little bit better. I think it's a matter of preference. This is a little bit bassier sounding to my ears. This one is a little bit more natural. For both, you should pick up their respective wind muffs because this exponentially improves the audio. Here is my dream. DJI makes these wireless lavs. That's actually what I'm using right now. Why not integrate it with the action camera? So for example, when I turn on the transmitter here, it sends a signal, turns on the camera, and I'm rolling and I have awesome audio. This would literally be the best of all worlds scenario, great audio and ease of use. Let's talk about image quality. It seems a little weird to put image quality at the bottom of my list. But like I said, cameras are so good these days that unless you're, kind of pixel peeping, it's all pretty good. That said, there are some differences. I found that the Osmo Action, even after some adjusting, I think I dialed in -3 exposure compensation, the camera still tends to overexpose the highlights when compared to the GoPro. This is most obvious in midday sun, going through dappled sunlight. I believe that's called komorabi in Japanese. Because of this tendency to overexpose the highlight. The GoPro just looks more detailed. I also find that it takes the Osmo Action just a hair longer to adjust exposure when compared with the GoPro Hero 11. Lastly, this is a matter of preference. The GoPro footage seems a little bit warmer in color temperature than the Osmo Action. Neither good nor bad. You can correct it in post, but out of the box, this is a little bit cooler and this is a little bit warmer. I'm going to give the GoPro Hero 11 the edge in technical image quality, primarily because of its ability to keep those highlights in check and look more detailed. But like I said, all these cameras are so good, and in the way I use it, I know it sounds strange, image quality isn't the absolute deciding factor. Right now, when you buy the GoPro Hero 11 itself, it's $399. You get the camera and one Enduro battery, which I don't think is enough. I would automatically buy another two for $40. So then that brings you up to $440 for a actual usable kit. The Osmo Action with its one excellent battery is $330. I think you can get away with this as a creator if your shoot isn't multiple days, but I highly recommend getting the Adventure Combo, which comes with 3 batteries and a really cool charging case for $440. In the end, there is still a slight advantage to the Osmo Action 3 because for that $440, you get 3 batteries and a really cool charging case. Batteries are awesome. For that $440, you get 3 kind of okay batteries and no charging case. So which one should you get? I think at the end of the day, if you're a pixel peeper and you're totally obsessed and only care about image quality, then get the GoPro Hero 11. If, however, you prioritize other features like glitchiness, awesome battery life, the magnetic mounts, so you're not constantly breaking these plastic mounts, then you should get the Osmo Action 3. But I know you've got a deep and burning question in your mind. Russ, where did you get that cool no Lycra, no rule shirt? Well, I'm glad you asked. Definitely check out the links below. Help support the content on this channel, and as always, keep the supple side down.